Right now, I'm confused about what kind of content to make next for RuneSlayer, so, in my next video, I might talk about another game that I find quite interesting. For this video, I will be discussing the balancing changes in this update. I will divide the balancing changes into two categories, PvP, PvE. This way, it will be easier for you to understand. First, I won't be covering the changes to Holy Shield, Golden Fairy, and most Scream volumes lower, because, even without reading the patch notes, it's obvious that these are great changes for Priest. So, the first thing I'll be discussing is Hemorrhage. Why was Hemorrhage nerfed? Because Goblin King can throw a barrel containing goblins that throw spears and inflict hemorrhage. To prevent players from getting killed by those small goblins too easily, Hemorrhage was nerfed. Honestly, this nerf makes perfect sense. To be honest, I'm not too sure which class, subclass, can apply Hemorrhage passively. The only thing I know is that one of the new warrior swords, Tile, applies Hemorrhage. So, this nerf to Hemorrhage doesn't seem to affect any class significantly. Greater Smite cooldown and Smite cooldown. Both of these skills received a cooldown nerf. I have a priest slot, but I haven't noticed any changes in PvE. It seems like this cooldown nerf only affects PvP, and I agree with the nerf. These two skills were definitely overpowered before. Holy Shield nerf. This nerf is also for PvP. As I mentioned earlier, I have a priest slot, and I haven't noticed any differences in PvE. So, in summary, Smite, Greater Smite and Holy Shield nerfs only affect PvP. Holy Fire. Now, this one is interesting, because they made Holy Fire parryable. Why did they do this? Because Lich King could be cheesed by priests if Holy Fire remained unparryable. You know Lich King's Arise skill, right? That skill revives skeletons and allows Lich King to auto-parry as long as the skeletons are alive. So, to prevent priests from being too overpowered, in this PvE update, they made Holy Fire parryable. Also, Holy Fire was nerfed in PvP, reducing its damage by 50%. Casting time cap. They have now added a cap to casting time for spells. The maximum casting time reduction is now 25%. This means that using a caster ring and Spider Queen rune is enough to reach the casting time cap. You no longer need to use Sanctify, Malefic robes, for casting speed. If you're wondering which robes are the best now, my answer is Licht robes. Elf nerf. This nerf was deserved since Elf is a common race. I'm not complaining about this one. Also, this nerf makes sense because they released Lit gear, which is extremely overpowered for mages. You definitely wouldn't want to fight an elf mage with insane cooldown reduction and nearly infinite mana, right? Angelic Wings. I still don't understand why they nerfed Angelic Wings. First, Angelic Wings works based on chance RNG, activating through Flash Heal, Holy Light. It's not even a guaranteed proc. Now, they added a 60-second cooldown, just like Fiend's passive, making it even harder to activate. This nerf just doesn't make sense. Maybe they nerfed Angelic Wings because they thought it was too overpowered in PvP. I agree that it was strong in PvP, but in PvE, it barely ever activated even before this nerf. Final thoughts. If you have a priest slot that isn't level 30 yet, do not choose Cleric. Cleric is now one of the worst subclasses in PvE. I'm specifically talking about Cleric, not Priest. So, if you're still a Priest and haven't chosen a subclass yet, wait for the next Priest subclass. Since Priest only has one subclass, there's a high chance that a new subclass will be added soon. Conclusion. This balancing update is very bad for players who already chose Cleric. Priest is still very strong if you have these spells, Sphere, Flame Pillar, Water Slicer, Plague Rat, and other meta spells. Without the Cleric subclass, Priest alone is already extremely powerful. so you don't need to choose Cleric.